Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to Level Up Thursdays. And hey, like it is every Thursday, well, every select Thursday, we connect with a select roster of speakers and experts giving you the inside track on what you need to fast track your app business on the path to sustainable growth, reaching your targets. What you have in mind, that's what you're here for, right? And I am your host every Level Up Thursday, Peggy Anne Salz, mobile analyst, tech consultant, founder of Mobile Groove. And today the topic, you read about it, that's why you're here, right? Supermodel, your checklist to evaluate and choose the right rewarded approach for impressive results. And there's a reason for that, because marketers are caught between a windfall of profits, tailwinds of a global recession, increasing pressure to diversify revenue streams. That's where you are, but where is the growth in a market where the appetite to play games perhaps outpaces the level of disposable income players can spend in game? Or maybe it's just a matter of attention span. It's about how to increase engagement, monetize traffic, construct viral loops, get us hooked, acquire users who stay in the game. And that's a time where rewarded advertising may be shaping the future of games monetization. So we have a lot of questions to look at, a lot of things to explore. And we're going to do it with my guest, data-driven mobile marketing expert, 7 years of experience in online advertising and mobile marketing, Michael Jessen, UA specialist at Social Point. It's great to have you here on Level Up Thursdays.
Thanks for having me once again, Peggy. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm happy to be
yeah,
here.
it's an encore actually, if you think about it, because we've had a podcast over on Mobile Growth Summit as well. And here you're going to tell us what you know, because of course you have been doing this. This is what you do at Social Point. Social Point, way of background, free to play mobile and social network games, maybe best known for titles like Dragon City. But what's happening these days? I mean, last time I checked, it was a rebrand in 2019. Here we are, nearly at the end of 2020. What are some milestones to share?
Exactly. Yeah. So the rebranding was one thing that we did last year. Like the
Mm-hmm.
logo and everything got changed, so that was pretty cool. We've been working hard on games internally. Like a big game in a while. The last one was last year actually, which was World Life. We have a new game coming up in the beginning of next year, which I cannot tell too much about, unfortunately.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on during. Like we have been working on the existing games, the legacy games. As you mentioned, Dragon City.
Yeah.
This is a game. It's quite old already. But we've been, especially during the pandemic, been able to boost these legacy titles to the next level. So that's what some these are some great achievements that we achieved as a team.
Absolutely. And of course, we talked about you've been around for a while, but hey, rewarded ads, rewarded advertising, been around a while as well, right? Offer walls. Don't have to tell you, that dates back a while. Rewarded video, I've been writing about for a couple of years, always growing, strength to strength. What are you seeing out there, Michael? I want to understand, are there drivers here? Is there a reason or a way to think about rewarded that it's more important now than before, or there's something moving it up the agenda?
Yeah, so I think first of all, like what we are trying to do at Social Point, like we're trying to diversify the revenue streams as much as we can. So we have the video ads, we have the ARPs, we have offer walls, we have
Mm,
surveys. We all do that to get the user like hooked to the game. So for example, we're using offer wars where users can download an app, buy a product, sign up for a free Amazon or Netflix subscription whatsoever. Then we have the surveys, which is something that we implemented earlier this year, where we send out like personalized surveys based on interests and demographics of the users.
mm-hmm.
And then they can get in-game currency in exchange for filling a list of questions based on their interest, right? So the
Mm-hmm.
surveys can go up from like 10 to 30 minutes more or less. And the longer it is, the higher the rewards
Hmm.
that users get. Um, and then we have video ads, of course. This is something where the majority of the monetization efforts are coming from. Users can watch daily videos to get in-game currency, get live ops related rewards, as well as during certain events to speed up certain processes or elements inside the game. So I would
Mhm.
say these are like the drivers that we have within Socialpoint. We use all of these. Of course, like some are more profitable than others or working better for us, but we're using it like in a blended mix, let's say.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different approaches going on there. I mean, when you say surveys, I'm thinking, yes, I can see the value in deep funnel, moving people through the funnel. But your main focus is UA. So I'd like to understand the value of rewarded advertising at this stage of the funnel. This is at the top.
Exactly. So rewarded UA works slightly different. Like we're buying users at channels such as Misplay and Agile, and users basically get rewarded for the time they spend inside of the apps that they download of these providers, right? So in exchange for virtual content. So let's say like you're downloading a game from one of these apps, you play this X amount of time, and you get rewarded with virtual currency that's from that specific app. And once these users have enough of this specific currency, they can exchange that for a Google Play gift card or an Amazon voucher. So it's basically a way for users to discover new kind of games while getting rewarded for the engagement that they're having inside of the game. And in the end, of course, we hope that the users, like after they get the max amount of rewards from this app, that they stick with the game because they actually like it, they invest some time in it, they achieved some things inside of the game, and they want to continue with the game basically. So the only downside of the UA part is that it's only available on Android, so not on iOS. Apple is
Mm,
quite strict with the policy when it comes to this. So
yeah.
this might be something for the future, but for now, it's only Android.
Yeah. So let's step back for just a moment because, you said, you work with the number of companies, usual suspects, as well as other channels. You mentioned Agio and others. And I want to understand, we understand all the business value at this stage, but I want to step back for people in the audience, marketers who are saying, okay, I need to make the match between my UA objectives and which approach to use. So these are working well at the top of the funnel. Can you help me, however, understand the match there? Is this a natural thing to say, okay, if I'm getting highly engaged users in through these ways, that is the way to do it? Because you did also mention that there are others you're looking at, but there seems to be a fit here.
Exactly. So the first thing that we do usually with when selecting these partners and when
Mm-hmm.
we want to scale up is like checking like which countries are the core revenue drivers, because as I said, one thing is already that like rewarded advertising in UA is a little bit limited and it's only on Android. But
Yeah.
secondly is the country split, right? So we need to check which countries are the core revenue drivers for your specific app or game. In our case, it's the tier one traditional. So these are countries that obviously these providers all provide. But for example, Latin America and Asia is something that there is not a lot of volume in this type of UA.
Hmm.
So if
Okay.
so, this is something to bear in mind. Like, where is the app that you're having? Where is it? How big is it globally, and in which countries are you getting the revenue? If it's one of these geos, it's maybe not the best to focus in, but as they are also expanding into new territories, it might be something for the near future.
Yeah.
Secondly, what's important as well is like which users are bringing you the revenue, right? So as I said before, like if Android is generally doing good for you, the chances that you will be successful with rewarded UA are quite high. However, if the focus is on iOS, you might struggle a little bit because I mean there is simply or barely no traffic there. So that's something to bear in mind.
Okay. I mean, of course, the best reason to understand why to invest the effort is always thinking about the return. I won't ask you your complete numbers here, Michael, but I would like a range of the engagement value you can generate. So perhaps a retention boost of something or some way that you're measuring it, because you're watching metrics to know it's wash, rinse, repeat. You have to know what's successful. We need to know the benchmarks. What are they, that range?
Yeah, exactly. So basically, like the retention of these sources are always pretty high. Like if I have to give a number
Hmm.
to it, it's like between 3 and 6 points higher in retention day one and
Okay.
day three. So it's definitely something that that boosts your retention, which makes sense because I mean, in the end, the users are engaged, right, and they get rewarded
Right.
for. If they get back into the game the second day, they get another reward. So they get actually like rewarded for coming back. So it makes sense that the retention is higher.
Hmm.
So you will definitely see that once you start with UA on these providers, that the retention will definitely go a lot higher. Well, a lot. Like for us, it's between 3 and 6 points higher than the usual traditional channels like Facebook and Google, for example.
Okay. I mean, we've gone through a couple of these. We've talked about approaches that, engage the user. So you're rewarded for watching videos and rewarded video ads rather. There's others such as Agile you mentioned. You get entirely different engagement with the user. Talked about offer walls. We talked about all the methods that you're using and the places that you're doing them at. But we said at the top, this is some sort of checklist. We want to leave our audience with that. Maybe you just want to go for me down through some of these and say, what you use where. And then we'll get to what I think is really exciting, something you use that's not on the checklist, which is influencer marketing here as well, to sort of reinforce that engagement and increase that retention. But just go through the checklist for me. We talked about some, I think we've covered the the models rather at the top of the funnel, but you have some others taking us through to make certain people keep playing the game.
Yeah, I think like whatever like strategy for reward that you want to implement. So whether it's like surveys or offer, well, first of all, you get back to like, okay, what is the where is the focus, right? Because offer walls and surveys are a lot bigger again on Android than on iOS. On Android, you can do a lot more. So
Hmm.
you have to see that if your audience is there. But secondly, like you need to make sure that what you're offering fits also the game. Because, for example, like if you have, for example, a really hyper casual game, right? A user like doesn't spend a lot of time there continuously in there. So maybe a user opens the game, plays for 5-10 minutes on the subway, and then leaves it. Like you don't want to give a user like that, like to fill in a survey of 30 minutes, because it's not going to make any sense. Because if they're normally not playing that amount of time, they would not do that. So you need to make sure to find the balance, like if it makes sense. Like I would say for hyper casual surveys is something I would not necessarily implement if it's like mid-core to hardcore games where users are longer engaged. It's definitely something that can add value, especially in the long run.
Hmm.
And then for offer walls, yeah, I would say it's more or less the same thing. Like what we did and what for us worked pretty well is this you can do actually on surveys and on offer walls. It's like what we call like happy hours. So this means like if you want to boost, for example, like the engagement in certain times of the day, or like for example, if you want to boost engagement in the weekend specifically, like you can do multipliers. So
Hmm.
this means that you get double or triple the amount of currency that you're offering for filling in a survey or doing something on the offer wall, like downloading an app or signing up for a subscription, than that you would normally get, right? So people are more likely to interact with these, so they're more engaged, and they spend more time in the game. So
Hmm.
this is something that you can control. This is definitely something that is worth testing. For us, what we saw, like when we really boosted this up, to multiplying the rewards by 4 or 5, we didn't see a massive uplift anymore. However, once we did it with just doubling or tripling it, yes, we saw uplifts in the engagement.
That's interesting. It seems like there's got to be a balance in there somewhere, depending on your
Yeah,
game, depending on your audience, between giving them too much, giving them too little, giving them the right kind at the right time. You've
yeah.
been doing this for a while. This is what you do at Social Point. I look at you as like a textbook example of how to do surveys really well, by the way. You know what you're doing. What are some pitfalls that you might want to share with us, or something that you maybe have said, oops, and learned from it? Because again, there's a lot of variables here. You said yourself, give them too much as a reward, it might not boost, move the needle at all.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the thing that you need to take into account. I think in the end it comes down to a lot of testing. Like you need to make sure like
Mm-hmm.
if what you're giving, like if for example you do a survey of 30 minutes, right? You need to make sure that if for example in a 30-minute survey I get, let's say, an in-game currency of 10 gems, let's say. If I
Right.
can get the same amount of gems with, I don't know, watching 3 video ads, which will cost me 2 minutes, like nobody will fill in that
Yeah.
survey, right? Because like the balance is not right. So this is
Yeah.
something that like takes a bit of like experimentation, like
Mm-hmm.
because of course like the longer people invest, the higher the reward should be. So this is definitely something that is worth testing and can go definitely wrong if you just do the standard surveys and they're not having the right balance in the rewards, then nobody will fill in these service, and it's not going to bring in extra revenue. Secondly, then is like, yeah, check the make it personalized, because of course, if I fill in a survey of something that I'm interested in, I'm more likely to fill this in. So let's say, I don't know, let's say I fill in that my interests are cooking and going to the cinema and stuff like that, and if I could then get surveys about restaurants or cinemas or something like that, I'm more likely to engage with these based on the interest that I'm having. So usually when people sign
Mm-hmm.
up, when they get the survey part available inside of the game, they do a couple of introduction questions based on their interests and demographics, and based on that they get personalized content. So this is very important because if I don't know, if I need to fill in a survey for something that I'm completely not interested in about, like the
Don't
quality
do
of the
it.
survey is not going to be good, or people just leave it as it is.
Yeah.
So like there is, so you need to make sure that the content, so as a high level, like that the content is specific for the user and that the balance is right. I think these are the two
Mm-hmm.
things that you really need to make sure that you do right. If not, it's not going to work.
Yeah. So right balance, right personalization, and great segue because you have made a couple of really cool right moves, I think, in bringing in the influencer into this. It's not what I would think of originally. And full disclosure, I'm so fascinated by this. I may write about it at Pocket Gamer. I love how you've brought influencers into the game in a 360 approach. Tell me about this. I think our audience would love to hear it. I know this is pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. So in theory, like between rewarded and influencers, then like there's not a lot of in theory, it's not a lot of much of connection, right? But
Not normally,
what we
no.
what, and what we
Mhm,
no, I normally know, because like normally you have an influencer that like usually in a video or a post says like, okay, this is game X or app X, download this potentially with a discount code when you're a new user, right? And then they leave it, and that's it. So what we did, like we did something like this with a YouTuber called Mr. Beast from the US. And what we
mhm,
did, like we integrated, we did a full integration with the influencer, right? So we made a dragon that was specifically like a skin of his character, that people could buy in the game directly, or they could get the dragon whilst playing. So this was something like an integration that we've done with previous influencers as well, but with this influencer in specific, we took it a bit further, right? So it was the first time that we're giving away a prize. So we had like a mini game inside of the game, which we normally have during live ops events, and then people could win the highest score in that island. Like people had to run a certain amount of meters, and then
mhm,
the highest the one with the highest lap would get $15K as a prize reward. So what we did, like we used rewarded advertising then inside the game. So we showed, in order to play this game, you had to do certain events inside of the game, right? So you had to do like
okay,
battling or growing food or breeding. So this is the normal way to get like these tickets in order to play the game. So what we did now as well, like we integrated this into the video ads as well. So when people watch certain video ads mixed in during the day, they were able to get these flight stamps or these tickets in order to play this game of this influencer to then potentially win that prize as well. So it's kind of a
right,
loop of, first of all, like bringing like the influencer into the game. That's one thing, to make it
right,
part of the game. And then secondly, like to use it as well in a way to monetize, because people want to play as get as many attempts in order to win that prize. So people therefore start to watch more video ads.
Mm-hmm. So you get them to come into the game because like, hey, I really like this influencer. I'm going to come there. And then it's part of the reward strategy, part of the reward scheme to say,
Yeah,
okay, interact with these videos because then you're going to get more opportunities to interact and have more gameplay with the influencer as well. So you do have, that loop going on. Um,
exactly.
we're coming up to you gave me a couple pieces of swag to your credit already, Michael, right? So we know about the balance, we know about personalization. We've got insights into how we can bring influencers into this. I mean, it's probably not super simple, but maybe that can be part of your swag. We have some top tips already. Give me one last tip to end on, something the audience can take back, maybe something around integrating influencers, maybe something about understanding the checklist, maybe there's a hack somewhere in there. What would you like to offer us?
Yeah, I think first, like the main thing that people need to understand is like what you need to make sure like what works for you. What I said already, or I touched base slightly in the beginning, right? It really you need to check what type of app or game you have. Like if you have a finance app, like a bank app, or a hyper casual game, or I don't know, a ride sharing application. Like these are apps that you're not using constantly or for a very long time. So it doesn't make sense to just blindly like integrate with surveys, for example. So this is something like there is a lot of options on the market to generate extra revenue outside of video ads for AIP in your app or game in general. But I think the main thing that you need to check is like what is relevant for me, what makes sense to me. Like looking at like how long are users usually interacting, how long are the sessions inside of your application, and then decide, okay, I'm going for like normal, just stick with video ads, or I'm going to do an offer wall, or I'm going to do surveys. I think this is the main key, because
Mm-hmm.
if not, you can get very lost in everything and just like integrate all of these, and then in the end, nothing will work. So I think it's very important to take it a step back. Like, what are the
Yeah.
session lengths? How are people engaging with my application? And then uh, make the decision to go for one or another.
And also what you're focused on within the funnel itself. I mean, if you're looking at UA as you are, then there are other options as well. There is a real advantage to having engaged users come in and then get that value throughout the entire funnel as well. So it'd also be probably the stage you're thinking of, what do you want to accomplish? What do you want to incentivize, right?
Exactly. So this is very important. Like, of course, in the end, it's all come down to profitability. So, like in the end, it doesn't really matter where that revenue is coming from, right? If it's coming from an in-app purchase, or a user that watches X amount of video ads, or watches or fills in surveys, or makes actions on the offer wall, it's good to offer it. But I think one last thing, which I think is important as well, that I didn't mention before, is like, as I said before, like there is a lot of differences between Android and iOS.
Mm-hmm.
This is something to bear in mind as well. Like if you have a very, like say high iOS orientated audience, make sure that you keep things in balance, because the thing is, like if you're gonna offer your Android users more options to gain extra in-game
Mm,
currency, this can cause a little bit of friction. Like we haven't noticed this specifically, but you need to be
mm-hmm.
very specific with that. So like if you're opening surveys or offer walls, for example, because Android has a lot more options, integrate it with a small audience first, and then scale it up. Because of course, like your community there can be quite some friction there if like a certain amount of users can get a lot more rewards than others, and this is definitely
Mm-hmm.
something that you don't want.
That's smart. I hadn't thought of that, but of course, it's a community, it's a tribe. They're going to say, "Hey,
Nice.
hey, I'm getting all these
Exactly.
rewards." Like, whoa, wait a second, I'm not. What's going on here? Same game, not fair, right? They're going to come to you in social. They'll come to you in
Exactly.
your reviews. You will know that. Um,
Yep.
Great having these tips, that you've been sharing, and I'd like to understand, how can people stay in touch with you? They might want to understand more about the checklist. How about the different ways that you are employing rewarded advertising, the different approaches, whatever. One way is certainly LinkedIn. Are you out there blogging? I don't know, Michael. What do you do to share your insights? Where are you at?
I'm not blogging. Like it's an actually idea that I came
Oh,
that I have, like especially
okay.
during this whole pandemic time, we're spending more time at home. So that's something that I have on my checklist myself, actually. So in
Okay.
the near future, that will be something that I'll be doing myself most likely. But for now, yeah, LinkedIn is the stuff for the place where I usually share, and on Twitter as well. So if you have any
Okay.
questions in the audience, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to go into a conversation and to discuss
Perfect.
further.
And I'll get to you about the blogging, Michael. I told you
Yeah.
last time I think that you have a lot to share. Now
Yeah,
now you don't have an excuse. Now you've got some time. Who
exactly.
knows? And of course we'll have that in the show notes. We'll have some notes about you. There's always a companion post over at Mobile Growth Association website. Tons of ways to keep up to date with both of us. And in the meantime, of course, knowledge. Knowledge, thank you for sharing your knowledge. But hey, it's also about sharing out here. So spread the word about Level Up Thursdays, all the other webinars. You can find the schedule at mobilegrowthassociation.com, or you can check out the playlist of all these shows and more over at Mobile Growth Summit on YouTube. And of course, we aren't live, but hey, we want to keep it lively. So DM me. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter, Peggy Anne. Of course, Michael, also tell us what you think. Have any questions for us, our guests, anything that you have on your mind, share it. So until next time, this is Peggy Anne Salz signing off. Stay well, keep safe. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys.